Hello, a very good evening to you. Welcome to ITV News and to Wednesday night's calendar.
And here are tonight's main stories.
South Yorkshire Police admits a major data loss of body cam footage which could put dozens of criminal prosecutions in jeopardy.
I'm astonished. I just find it almost unbelievable. This is incompetence in its rawest form.
Let him be the last. The father of a boy who died after taking ecstasy at last year's Leeds Festival urges action to protect youngsters this weekend.
The fact that they're not able to purchase and consume alcohol, and the fact that there are drugs available on site. And that, for me, is one of the biggest risks that's still not fully dealt with.
We're being roadblocked. How York's newest shop says it's had 0 customers in a day thanks to this city centre construction work. And
I'm Timmy Mallett and I've been cycling and painting my way around Britain. You can see the results on calendar tonight and I'm utterly thrilled.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. And our top story tonight is the shocking admission from South Yorkshire Police that it's lost officers' body cam footage from dozens of cases. A data breach which is tonight being investigated by the Information Commissioner's Office.
the footage, some of which could have been used as evidence in prosecutions, was recorded over almost 3 years. Digital experts are now trying to work out how to recover it.
Well, the loss has been branded as incompetence by one former senior officer in our region. Let's go now to Michael Billington, who's at South Yorkshire Police headquarters. Michael, do we know what this footage contains?
Well, Lisa says the force says that it features video filmed by officers at incidents and while dealing with members of the public. But I think what's so serious about all of this is, as you said, the fact that some of the footage may have been used in court cases. Now, South Yorkshire Police were alerted to the fact that there was a problem when they noticed a significant and unexplained reduction in data stored on its systems. Now, how that data went missing in the first place is now the focus of an investigation by a team of digital forensics experts.
Put it down now.
South Yorkshire officers coming under attack by a man wielding a knife in 2014. This body cam footage was used at his trial, the offender jailed for 3.5 years. It's the kind of video evidence often seen as playing a vital role in securing successful prosecutions. But now footage filmed by South Yorkshire Police between July 2020 and May this year has gone missing.
I'm astonished. I just find it almost unbelievable that they haven't got access to this data.
Former North Yorkshire Deputy Chief Constable Peter Walker says it puts potential prosecutions in jeopardy and raises serious questions.
They haven't been able to say, oh, we'll get the backup data. Surely they must have backups. And if they don't, well, somebody needs to be answering some fairly direct questions. This is incompetence in its rawest form, really.
The force says 69 cases could be affected by the loss. In some of them, the footage could have been used as evidence in criminal prosecutions. I am deeply sorry this has occurred, Assistant Chief Constable Rick Alton said today. After we became aware of the loss, we notified the Information Commissioner's Office and began work to recover it. Tonight, a digital forensics team is said to be working urgently to get the footage back. The force says it's hopeful, but there are no guarantees.
First of all, there could be some backup available still in the system. And secondly, there is a trace either in the cloud or in the servers available that for them to recover the data.
Civil liberties groups say it highlights a wider problem around the public's right to privacy.
We will have dozens of people who have no idea what has happened to extremely sensitive footage. Body-worn cameras are naturally an invasion of your right to privacy, your right to freedom of expression, and your data protection rights. And if the police are going to collect this data, it is vital that it's stored properly.
This is the latest in a series of data breaches by police forces in the UK just this month, raising further questions about how organisations responsible for public safety are looking after security themselves.
Well, Michael, South Yorkshire Police, as you say, facing some really serious questions this evening. But what could all of this mean for victims of crime?
Well, as you heard in my report, there are some fears that any potential lack of evidence in certain cases may well jeopardise prosecutions. For their part, the Crown Prosecution Service says its lawyers are looking at a small number of cases to see what, if any, impact this loss might have. The force itself says it's working closely with victims. Meanwhile, the Police and Crime Commissioner for South Yorkshire, Dr Alan Billings, has demanded an explanation about how all of this happened and exactly how the police force intends to prevent it from happening again.
OK, Michael Billington live in Sheffield, thank you.
Also tonight, a grieving father is calling on the government to review whether young people are safe when they attend one of the biggest events in our region.
Yes, Leeds Festival, like many other music festivals, are a rite of passage for teenagers who often arrive on the day they receive their GCSE results. Many are already on their way to this year's event right now.
Well, John Pero Cellino's 16-year-old son David died after taking ecstasy at last year's festival. He says what happened to his family will happen again unless changes are made. Katie Oscroft reports.
David Cellino's parents took him to Leeds Festival. This was the last photograph of him, the last time they saw him, before the night they watched him die. The time of his life turned into an adventure which led to his death. His father has now begun a campaign to make events like Leeds Festival safer, in memory of the boy he describes as unique, but also a face in a crowd of thousands just like him.
One of the biggest challenges we face with festivals and a large number of 16 and 17-year-olds is how you bridge the gap between the fact that they're not able to purchase and consume alcohol and the fact that there are drugs available on site. And that, for me, is one of the biggest risks that's still not fully dealt with. We know that in David's case, one of the things that drove them towards considering buying drugs was that they had run out of alcohol and they were preyed upon by a drug dealer who, having understood that, took steps to groom them to the point where he sold them drugs because they felt they didn't have anything else that they could do.
David's father spelled out the dangers he believes the government should address at an inquest into his son's death in Wakefield. The managing director of Festival Republic said measures to curb drugs and to help young people in distress had now been put in place. At the inquest, you said that a ticket that will signal the death of another young person has already been sold. Do you still feel that way?
Leeds Festival's on probation. The coroner made a really important point in asking those who gave evidence at the inquest into David's death whether 16 and 17-year-olds were particularly vulnerable, and we believe they are, and we believe the question of whether festivals are safe for 16 and 17-year-olds still an open one.
The first festival goers of around 100,000 who will arrive at Bramham Park this week say there is more evidence of bags being searched and sniffer dogs which can detect drugs.
This weekend there'll be, 20,000 young people under the age of 18 there, trying to enjoy themselves just like David and his friends were. They've been talking about going to Leeds Festival since the previous Christmas. They'd planned for it, him and his group of friends. They're really looking forward to it. The real test is that what's happened to David doesn't happen again. And I sincerely hope it doesn't, but that will be in our minds this weekend.
Do you think anyone can afford to say that couldn't happen to me and my family?
No. All we can do is work really, really hard to reduce the risk as much as possible.
Leeds Festival attracts young people determined to have the time of their lives. David Cellino's family want his death to prompt changes to ensure all of them come home. Katie Oscroft, ITV News.
It's a terribly sad story, and we did ask the Home Office for its response to Mr Cellino's concerns, and a spokesperson told us it was committed to tackling the misuse of drugs. They added that all festival licence applications include complying with objectives to prevent children from any harm.
Well, you're watching Wednesday night's calendar. Thanks for joining us, and still to come on the programme tonight, going for gold and a place at the Paralympics. High stakes for one of our top table tennis stars.
And with lighter winds today, it felt quite nice and warm in any sunshine. And check out these beautiful faces. Maybe they're trying to work out the forecast for the weekend. All the detail a little later on.
Next, traders in one of York's best-known medieval streets say their business is being ruined by council roadworks at the height of the peak summer season.
Yes, York Council is spending £4 million installing anti-terror barriers designed to prevent hostile vehicle attacks in the city's busy shopping streets. But the owners of the city's newest gift shop say they're now going to have to close temporarily just weeks after they opened because the roadworks have robbed them of all passing trade. John Hill has more.
York in August, the perfect staging post for late summer showdowns.
It's Leeds Festival time at the Knavesmire, and York throws open its doors to welcome tens of thousands of racegoers.
It's equalised from the bottom of the heads.
But in the city centre, visitors to one particular street face hurdles which would bring even a galloping thoroughbred to an abrupt halt. This is Gudrum Gate, and for 6 weeks it's been turned into a construction site to build anti-terror barriers, and one side of the street is bearing the brunt. The contrast between this side of Gudrum Gate, crowded, and this side, deserted, well, it tells its own story. Anthony and Jonathan opened their gift shop just 3 weeks ago. They say they had no idea just how disruptive the works would be.
Today we've had no customers whatsoever. Yesterday we had one customer who was actually a friend. Last week, on 2 days, we had no customers at all.
So what now?
The honest answer is we're going to close until the works are finished. We're going to close probably until October. There's no point being open.
The terror threat in the UK is classed as substantial, meaning the security services think an attack is likely. 2 attacks in London in 2017 claimed the lives of 13 people and forced authorities across the country, including York, to bolster defences against vehicles being used as possible weapons. But for Joel, whose restaurant trade in Gudrum Gate has nosedived, the question is, why do the works now?
You must understand that the powers that be have to keep people safe.
Yeah, absolutely. The work we find is very important, absolutely, but I think the timing of it is quite poor, to be honest. Probably dropped about 30-40% of trades. The passing footfall is non-existent now, with obviously everything being fenced off and the footpath being closed.
We come regularly, we're not on holiday, and I just think this is chaos.
Most people probably accept you have to have some safety measures in place, but why on earth have you chosen peak season, August, to do it?
Yeah, the issue with the scheduling of work is that we're trying to get as much of the work completed before Christmas as possible, and that is going to mean some work taking place during the peak season, which is unfortunate, but inevitable if we're going to try and complete so that we don't have those huge barriers coming back for the Christmas market again.
The barriers for now are clearly an obstacle to trade, but the message from business here is also clear. We are still here and we need your support. John Hill, ITV News, York.
More of the day's news now, and firefighters remain at the scene of a large blaze at a waste recycling centre in South Yorkshire this evening. Crews say the smoke plume from the incident on Warren Street in Sheffield has reduced but could flare up, and they're asking people living in the area to keep doors and windows closed.
The M1 southbound carriage has reopened following an extensive clean-up operation after an oil tanker went up in flames on Tuesday morning. Both sides of the motorway were closed for most of the day to allow for emergency repairs on a stretch of the M1 from junction 29 for Chesterfield to junction 28 for Mansfield.
Now, the ITV Evening News is coming up after calendar. Here's Gamal Fambule with the stories making the headlines.
Coming up on the evening news, medical history is made as the UK sees its first ever womb transplants. The government announces 7 new special needs schools, but will it be enough to address the national shortage? Is baby formula getting too expensive? We see if mothers should be getting a better deal. And touchdown. India becomes the first country to successfully land a spacecraft on the moon's south pole. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Thanks, Gamal. We certainly will. Now some sport, and there was a welcome winner in the feature race on the first day of this year's Ebor Festival at York Racecourse. Frankie Dettori, who'll retire at the end of the year, made it a record 6 wins in the Juddmonte International with victory on Mustardaf. And he celebrated, of course, with his trademark flying dismount. There he goes.
To be the first man to win 6 international, I'm very proud. Beat the great Lester Piggott. It's my last year, and to finish on a high like this, I'm amazing. Look at that.
England under-21 striker Cameron Archer is reportedly having a medical at Sheffield United after a fee was agreed with Aston Villa. The 21-year-old scored twice against the Blades while on loan at Middlesbrough back in February. If he signs, Archer will become United's 8th new signing since their return to the Premier League. It's believed the fee will be around £18 million.
And one deal that's definitely gone through in rugby league sees Australian fullback Lucky Millier sign for the Leeds Rhinos on a 3-year deal starting next season. The 29-year-old will join from NRL side the Newcastle Knights, having represented his country at the 2020 Olympics. Millier says he's looking forward to joining such a prestigious club and being part of the culture at Headingley. And we're staying with sport for our next story. In 2 weeks' time, the continent's best para-table tennis players will compete at Sheffield's English Institute of Sport for the European Championships. And it's not just medals that are at stake.
Yes, the winners of the singles competitions will also earn direct qualification for next summer's Paralympic Games in Paris. And for one woman from Todmorden in West Yorkshire, that is a big incentive, as Chris Dork has been finding out.
A picture of concentration and determination. 2 qualities Megan Shackleton has had in abundance from a young age.
When I was 9 years old, I went to work with my dad and I ended up getting crushed by some machinery and breaking my back. So it's quite a young age to suffer a spinal cord injury. But thankfully I got back into playing sport, and I think that was a huge part of my rehab and probably becoming the athlete I am today.
Megan's part of an 18-strong Great Britain squad selected for the European Championships here in Sheffield next month. It'll be the first major para-table tennis tournament to be held in the UK. And with most of the team based in the Steel City, it'll very much feel like a home games.
As far as I'm aware, like from my career, my family haven't actually seen me compete at home championships, and to have the support of friends and family coming to watch, for us guys, is going to be a huge benefit.
So who's going to be here watching you in Sheffield?
I think I probably have quite a big little base coming. I think my family are definitely coming. My friends are going to take some time off work and come down and watch, which is really nice. So yeah, a fair few people, I think.
Megan Shackleton fan club are going to be in force, are they? And it's not all about the gold medals. Victory at these European Championships in the singles competition will guarantee qualification, a golden ticket, if you will, for next summer's Paris Paralympics. Megan already has a Paralympic medal. She won bronze in the women's doubles with Barnsley's Sue Bailey in Tokyo. At the Europeans, she'll team up with fellow Paralympic medal winner Jack Hunter-Spivey in the mixed doubles.
Me and Megan are really good friends off the table. We really complement each other in our doubles as well. And I really think we can do some damage. I really think we can bring back some major medals as a mixed doubles team, because we are a fresh pair and we've only played a few tournaments together, but I really do see the potential in us.
Since being a little kid, my dream's kind of always been to represent Great Britain on a major stage, and when I was younger I used to imagine being on the podium. I'd listen to my music and I'd imagine what that would feel like to me, and then to actually have that become a reality in Tokyo was just something else.
When she was younger, Megan was a keen swimmer and dreamed of emulating her hero Rebecca Adlington. But since swapping paddling for a paddle, Megan's certainly making waves at the very top of her sport. Chris Dorks, ITV News, Sheffield.
And best of luck, Megan. We'll let you know how she gets on, won't we?
We certainly will. Follow your career with interest.
We will. And now Kerry's here. Now, Kerry's felt a bit warmer today.
Yeah, lighter winds. When the sun came out, it did feel quite a lot warmer, but hands up, it was a little bit more unsettled this morning than I would have liked. Tiny bit more lively, but of course with the cloud, we had a fantastic sunrise in many places. Momentous clouds actually building above York this morning, and a big thank you to Kerry Greenfield for sharing. And of course it stayed dry just as that Ebor Festival kicked off this afternoon. So mostly dry for the first day, slightly high risk of a few showers over the next few days. So today did feel warm. Overnight tonight it's going to feel pretty humid. Averages highs around 11 or 12. Some places won't dip below 16 or 17 Celsius overnight tonight. And it's this humidity at the moment that's probably helped keep this starfish-shaped cloud in the skies for longer. This was yesterday evening. Many of you sending shots in. This was from Gareth Proctor in Pontefract. It's all to do with contrails or vapour trails from aircraft, but of course you don't always see them striping across each other, and it's the humidity that keeps those stripes in the sky for a little bit longer than if we were to have drier air, of course, which would make it dissipate. So a big thank you for all of you for sharing the shots that you saw around 7:45, 8 o'clock last night. Keep them coming, whatever you see in the skies above. Weather photos at itv.com.
We love to see them, don't we?
They're incredible, those pictures, aren't they, actually? Now, one of the worst things about being a weather presenter has to be when you've got people like me coming up to you in the office and saying, what's it going to be like at the bank holiday, weeks in advance, but we're nearly there now.
And it's always the bank holiday, isn't it? It's always the Monday that's got a big question mark. It's no change this weekend. We're still not too sure what's going to happen Sunday into Monday. It's our 7th weekend in a row where low pressure will be in charge. So we've got a little front in between these lows tomorrow. The low pressure to the north develops and stays with us as we head into Saturday. So sunshine and showers and a northwesterly feeling fairly fresh. But this high pressure out in the Atlantic is likely to stay out in the Atlantic, and it's little lows over the edge that will keep us unsettled, but there'll be some sunshine hopefully in between for sure.
Great. I wonder if you're feeling wide awake.
Oh,
I don't know. Why?
That might be a clue. Because now, if you are of a certain age, Kerry's far too young. Our next guest is someone you will definitely remember.
Yes, that's right. He's, well, famous, wasn't he, in the 80s for being on Whackaday on TVAM. Timmy Mallett we're talking about. Let's remind ourselves with a bit of time travel back to 1992.
Now then, Wide Awakers, it's top secret agent day today because we're off to Berlin, which of course is Berlin, and it's known to be in Germany, or as we would call it, Blairmany, and that's what we're going to be seeing today. Yes, Pinky?
Mr. Mallett,
Yes, Pinky.
you know Berlin?
Yes, Pinky, yeah.
Well, I know where it is.
Where is it then?
It's in Blairmany.
That brings back some great memories, Timmy. I can't believe it's over 30 years, could you?
Look, where does the time go? But what a joy to hear that again and to be reminded everywhere I go of the pleasure with which Whackaday was received. And thanks for reminding me, Ian. I love it.
It's great. Now, what have you been up to recently? Because I know you've been a busy boy.
I've been cycling. I set off with the idea of seeing if I could follow in the footsteps of great artists like Joseph Turner, who 200 years ago couldn't go to Europe because of Napoleon, and so went around Britain with his sketchbook, painting great views of Britain, and I was wondering if it was possible to follow in his footsteps. So on my trusty Timmy bike, I set off to cycle just under 5,000 miles around the coast of Britain in just under 5 months. And I put together this interactive map with Ordnance Survey showing the exact route and all the paintings and the little videos that are created along the way. Take, for instance, the cinder trap between Whitby and Scarborough. I mean, that's a joy to cycle.
I mean, I know that, talking of North Yorkshire there, you did get into Robin Hood's Bay. Let's take a quick look.
This lovely spot is Robin Hood's Bay. I love the name, Robin Hood. Yeah, Prince of Thieves. And this is the spot where the walkers who were doing the coast-to-coast from Cumbria to Yorkshire finished their walk.
Looks like it was a nice day there too, Timmy, for you. There it is.
I got my feet wet and I even had time to do a little sketch along the way. The cinder track is just lovely. It's a world-class coastline and Yorkshire's got so much beauty to offer that I was delighted to be able to take with me my watercolours, a little pad, and to create watercolours around the coast as I went, and then work these up in my studio here into paintings of our spectacular coastline. Tell me what you think when you have a little look. You know, you'll go to your favourite beach and you'll say, did Timmy paint a picture there, or has he filmed a little story for us? And if I've missed something, let me know and I'll make sure it's in.
Our calendar viewers certainly will, Timmy. There's no doubt about that. Thank you ever so much. It's fantastic to catch up with you. Thank you for joining us on Calendar.
Hey, an utter privilege and a pleasure. Thanks ever so much, and I hope you have an utterly brilliant, wacky summer holidays.
Well, it might be 30 years, but he's not changed much.
Hasn't
Personality, the way he looks, everything.
No, he hasn't changed a bit. But one thing I will tell you about, in fact, he's just become a granddad, so that's great news
He'd
for
be
Timmy.
a really energetic granddad, won't he?
I know. Yeah, well, let's get the weather forecast now. If you fancy a bit of cycling by the coast, here's Kerry.
Good visibility on the horizon. TIRI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello again. Yes, mixed fortunes weather-wise as we head into the next couple of days and closer towards the weekend. Definitely some lovely sunny spells though over the last couple of days. A big thank you to Rebecca Sills for this one taken this morning. Weather photos at itv.com, and also to Nikki Law for this great shot of Skipworth Common in Selby. Keep those photos coming. So this was the scene today. Actually quite a lot of cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain, but the cloud did give way to some sunny spells before it rebuilt into the afternoon and early evening. And it's all associated with this weather front that's now working its way in from the southwest. So generating quite a lot of cloud for this evening and overnight tonight, and also some patchy showery outbreaks of rain into the early hours, especially for North and West Yorkshire. Over the hills there'll be some low cloud as well. We're mild and quite muggy, and in towns and cities overnight tonight, not dipping much lower than 16 or 17 Celsius. A big thank you to Chris for this shot. 6 o'clock and 8:16 are your sun times as we head into Thursday. A disappointing start tomorrow. That weather front lingers around the region. Bit of a question mark about its positioning, but generating quite a lot of cloud and 1 or 2 showers. Either side though, there will be some sunshine, and where we get the sunny spells most likely to North and West Yorkshire into the early evening. Those temperatures will be around 20 to 22. Friday sets the scene for the weekend. Low pressure to the north of the UK, spiralling in a fresher northwesterly airflow, a mix of sunshine and showers, and temperatures below the average for the time of year. And that mix of sunny spells and showery outbreaks continues into Saturday and Sunday, feeling chilly out of any sunshine.
TIRI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
So there you go. Not as warm as last year, but not a washout as we head towards the weekend for sure.
All right, okay. You're keeping a close eye on that. See if it comes true, Kerry.
A very close eye. That's it for now. Lisa's back with the late news after news at 10, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 6. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.